Your life will never rise above the level of your thinking. You can pray, you can work hard, you can dream big, but if your mind is full of fear, doubt, and confusion, your life will follow that path. That's why the greatest war you will ever fight isn't outside of you. It's inside your head. Your mind is the battlefield, and if you don't take control of it, it will take control of you. We were never meant to live as slaves to worry, victims of overthinking, or prisoners of past mistakes. You were created to reign over your thoughts, not be ruled by them. If you've ever felt exhausted, but you haven't lifted a finger, overwhelmed, but nothing around you has changed, stuck even though you're moving, then you know the war I'm talking about. This war doesn't start in the streets or in the workplace. It doesn't start in your bank account or in your relationships. No, this war starts in a much smaller place that has far greater consequences. It starts in the mind. Your mind is the battlefield of your life. It's where every victory is first imagined and where every defeat is first accepted. You don't fail when people reject you. You fail the moment you start believing that their rejection defines your worth. You don't lose when the plan falls apart. You lose when you convince yourself that it was the only plan you were capable of. That's why learning to control your mind isn't a luxury. It's a life and death necessity, because when you win the war in your mind, you start winning everywhere else. Every day when you wake up, before you speak a word, before you make a move, your mind is already under attack. Thoughts start flowing in, some good, some bad, some random, some dangerous. You begin questioning your value, doubting your purpose, comparing yourself to others, replaying old mistakes, predicting future disasters. And if you're not careful, if you're not fully aware, those thoughts will chain you slowly but surely until you're no longer in control of your own mind. And once your mind is no longer yours, neither is your peace, neither is your confidence, neither is your direction. Many people are walking around today thinking they have a life problem when what they really have is a thought problem. They're blaming the economy, their job, their background, or other people for how they feel inside. But the truth is, their mind has become a breeding ground for doubt, fear, and shame. And when your mind becomes toxic, everything you touch becomes infected. That's how powerful your thoughts are. They don't stay in your head. They leak into your words, your mood, your posture, your decisions, your relationships, your habits, until everything around you reflects what's been allowed to grow inside of you. That's why the mind is the most important battlefield of all, because it determines what kind of life you will ultimately live. You can have all the talent in the world, but if your mind is full of confusion and negativity, you will sabotage your own potential. You can have big dreams, but if your mind is conditioned to fear failure, you'll talk yourself out of taking even the first step. The battlefield of the mind is subtle but deadly. It whispers lies in your own voice. It tells you you're not good enough, you're too old, you're too broken, you've made too many mistakes. And when you don't confront those lies, when you let them camp out in your head, they become your reality. Not because they're true, but because you believe them long enough to live them. You see, most people think external problems are what stop them. They think if they could just fix their situation, their mind would calm down. But the opposite is true. You have to calm your mind to fix your situation, because what you believe in your head will always shape what you experience in your life. You can't outrun a defeated mindset. You can't build a future with a mind that's still chained to the past. And you can't move forward when your thoughts are dragging you backward every day. You've got to understand this. Your mind is sacred ground, and not everything deserves a place there. You cannot afford to be passive. You cannot afford to leave your thoughts unguarded. If a stranger walked into your home and started throwing dirt everywhere, you'd throw them out. So why let destructive thoughts roam freely in your mind and trash your peace, your hope, your joy? Your mind was never meant to be a dumping ground for every lie and worry that passes by. It was designed to be a command center, powerful, focused, filled with vision, anchored in truth, ruled by clarity. That's why the real war isn't out there in the world. The real war is the one raging quietly between your ears. And every day, the outcome of that war determines whether you'll live by fear or faith, by habit or purpose, by chaos or clarity, by regret or discipline. You don't get to skip the war, but you do get to decide who wins. And it starts with recognizing the battle, because once you recognize it, you can start taking back your authority over it. Once you recognize that your mind is a battlefield, the next step is to start guarding what enters it, because not everything that knocks at the door of your thoughts deserves to be let in. Every day, every moment, your mind is exposed to voices, images, conversations, and influences that are either building your future or breaking it down. And here's a truth most people overlook. Your mind is not just vulnerable, it's absorbent. It absorbs whatever you allow near it. What you let in becomes what you think about. What you think about becomes what you feel. What you feel becomes what you believe. And what you believe shapes your entire life. Imagine your mind is a garden. Now imagine walking into that garden and seeing weeds growing everywhere, choking the flowers, blocking the sunlight, stealing the nutrients from the soil. That's what happens when you allow anything and everything to plant itself inside your head. The wrong voices, the wrong messages, the wrong energy, they don't just sit quietly. They grow, they multiply, they change the environment. So the question is, who and what are you allowing to plant in the soil of your mind? When you scroll through your phone, you're not just passing time, you're consuming messages. When you listen to music, you're not just vibing, you're receiving emotion, belief, and suggestion. When you hang around negative people, you're not just being social, you're breathing in their energy, their worldview, and their dysfunction. And all of it enters through the gate of your mind, slowly, silently, steadily. That's why you have to take the gate seriously. You wouldn't let a thief walk into your house and start rearranging your furniture, taking your valuables, speaking lies over your children. But many people let that happen in their mind every single day. They open the door to fear by watching what doesn't serve them. They open the door to insecurity by comparing their life to what they see on someone else's highlight reel. They open the door to self-doubt by allowing the opinions of small-minded people to weigh more than their own inner voice. And then they wonder why they're tired, confused, and lacking peace. It's not because they're weak, it's because their mental gate has no guard. Guarding your mind is not about becoming paranoid or isolating yourself from the world. It's about being intentional. It's about filtering what has access to your inner world. You don't have to entertain every thought that shows up. You don't have to agree with every opinion you're exposed to. You don't have to internalize every criticism thrown your way. You have the right and the responsibility to protect the atmosphere of your thoughts. That means you choose what you consume. You decide what voices you listen to. You set the standard for what belongs and what doesn't. If something makes you feel less, if it pulls you down, if it makes you anxious, guilty, or ashamed without offering growth, you have the power to shut the door. Not everything that's popular is profitable for your peace. Not every trend is worthy of your attention. Not every person deserves front row access to your mental space. Start asking yourself better questions. Does this thought bring clarity or confusion? Does this voice empower me or discourage me? Does this message align with who I'm becoming or pull me back to who I used to be? These questions are your weapons. They are the mental security system that will keep your mind from becoming a playground for distraction and destruction. Just like you wouldn't drink dirty water or eat spoiled food, you must stop consuming content that poisons your mind. Just like you protect your physical body from toxins, you must protect your mental space from toxic energy, toxic language, and toxic influences. Because once you let those toxins in, they don't just stay in your thoughts, they affect your emotions, your focus, your attitude, your self-image, and eventually your destiny. If you're tired of living with anxiety, if you're exhausted by constant mental noise, if you're frustrated by lack of focus, it may not be a sign of personal failure. It may be a sign that you've been too open to the wrong things. It's time to install a gate, a filter, a standard, not just to block what's harmful, but to make room for what's healthy, what's healing, what's true, what's uplifting, and what brings peace to your soul. If you've ever tried to change your life, really change it, you know that willpower alone isn't enough. You can write goals, make promises, start strong, but sooner or later, something inside starts to resist. That something is the old pattern, the old programming, the old mindset you've carried for years. And no matter how passionate you are, if you don't renew your mind, your old thinking will always sabotage your new beginning. Renewing your mind is not a one-time event. It's not something you do when you're in a crisis or just on a Sunday morning. It's a daily discipline, a spiritual reset, a mental cleansing that brings your thoughts back into alignment with who you really are and where you're going. Think of it like brushing your teeth or showering. You wouldn't skip a day and expect to stay clean. The same applies to your thought life. Your mind picks up mental dust and debris from everything you're exposed to. Negativity, bad news, self-doubt, temptation, pressure, stress. If you don't wash that stuff out daily, it starts to pile up until it clouds your vision, poisons your decisions, and steals your peace. You cannot operate with yesterday's mindset and expect to conquer today's challenges. Every new day brings new opportunities, but also new attacks, new distractions, new lies whispering in your ear, trying to tell you who you're not. That's why you need to renew your mind every single day, because the world around you is constantly working to shape your thoughts without your permission. If you're not intentionally transforming your mind, you're unconsciously conforming to everything around you. There is a battle between who you've been and who you're becoming. And the bridge between those two realities is the daily renewal of your thinking. That means taking time each day to feed your spirit, not just your schedule. You've got to make space in the morning, not for chaos, not for checking your phone, not for scrolling through noise, but for truth. You have to center yourself in who you are before the world tells you who to be. You have to remind your mind that fear is a liar, that failure is not final, and that you were created on purpose for a purpose. Renewing your mind means replacing the lies you've believed for years with truth that sets you free. It means rewriting the mental script that says, "I'm not enough," with one that says, "I am more than enough." It means catching toxic thoughts before they take root and planting new seeds that grow into confidence, resilience, and peace. The mind, like soil, will grow whatever you plant. If you sow negativity, that's what you'll harvest. If you sow power, faith, gratitude, and vision, those will begin to flourish. But understand this, renewal is not passive. It doesn't happen by accident. You don't drift into a powerful mindset. You build it brick by brick, day by day, thought by thought. You take a stand against passivity and decide that your mind is too valuable to be left on autopilot. You stop letting your feelings dictate your focus. You stop letting the past write your future. You stop letting old trauma have today's voice. Instead, you train your thoughts. You direct them. You lead them where they need to go. It's not about being perfect. It's about being committed. You may slip. You may have days where your mind feels like a storm of doubt, fear, and frustration. But that doesn't mean you failed. It just means you need to renew again. That's why this is daily. Not because you're weak, but because you're human. You don't renew your mind because something's wrong with you. You do it because you're wise enough to know that transformation takes consistency. The most successful, peaceful, powerful people on the planet aren't the ones with the easiest lives. They're the ones who've learned the secret of guarding their mindset, of waking up every day and refusing to let yesterday define today, of choosing again and again to bring their thoughts under control, to speak truth over themselves, and to filter their mental focus through a lens of clarity, purpose, and strength. If there's one habit that can radically transform the direction of your life, it's the way you use your words. Most people don't realize that their mouth is a creative weapon. What you speak out of your mouth, your mind begins to believe. And what your mind believes, your life starts to follow. Words are not just sounds, they are instructions. They tell your mind what to focus on, they tell your heart what to feel, and they tell your future where to go. Your words are not cheap. They are powerful. They are creative forces that either build your destiny or break it down one sentence at a time. Too many people are stuck in cycles of defeat, not because they lack talent or potential, but because they keep speaking against themselves. They keep reinforcing the very chains they want to be free from. They say things like, "I'll never get it right. I'm not smart enough. It always goes wrong for me," and then wonder why nothing changes. It's not that they're cursed. It's that they've unknowingly cursed themselves with their own tongue. Your voice has power, and it's either building your vision or strengthening your fear. Every time you speak, you are prophesying your direction. So if you're tired of seeing the same disappointments, the same breakdowns, the same patterns repeating, it's time to check your confession. It's time to ask yourself, what am I saying about my life every single day? If you keep speaking weakness, don't be surprised when you feel powerless. If you keep declaring that you're stuck, you're reinforcing the walls around your own progress. But the moment you begin to align your words with where you want to go, not where you've been, you begin to shift everything. Speaking what you want to see is not about denial. It's about direction. It's not pretending your problems don't exist. It's deciding that your problems don't get the final word. Think about how you talk to yourself in private. That quiet internal conversation, the one no one hears but you, is shaping how you show up in the world. Are you feeding yourself courage or criticism? Are you speaking life into your identity or letting insecurity echo louder than truth? Your voice was never meant to echo the negativity of the world. Your voice was meant to speak life, clarity, power, and faith into every corner of your being. You have to start saying, I am focused, I am healed, I am disciplined, I am rising, I am being transformed, I am not stuck, I am not my past, I am not finished, I'm just getting started. And even if your situation doesn't reflect that yet, your words are preparing the soil. Your words are creating the mental blueprint for your next level. Speak to your day before your day speaks to you. Speak peace before the stress comes. Speak strength before the pressure hits. Speak clarity before confusion tries to set in. Because when you speak it, your mind begins to believe it and your spirit begins to rise. If your mouth and your mind are constantly in disagreement, you will live in mental conflict. But when your words and your thoughts align, you become unstoppable. You become stable. You become intentional. You begin to walk in power, not panic. Because now you're not reacting to life, you're commanding it. And remember, it's not about how you feel, it's about what you say. Don't wait until you feel strong to speak strength. Speak it when you're weak. Speak peace when you're anxious. Speak purpose when you feel lost. That's how transformation begins, when your words speak a reality greater than your current situation. Your emotions may not agree right away. Your circumstances might still look messy, but your words have the authority to create momentum where there was none. The truth is, your life is following the sound of your voice, so make sure your voice is leading you to freedom, not fear, to growth, not guilt, to vision, not limitation. And every time you speak with intention, you are laying the foundation for the future you've been praying for. There comes a moment in your personal growth journey when you realize this simple truth. Not every thought that enters your mind belongs to you. Just because it showed up doesn't mean you have to claim it. Just because it sounds familiar doesn't mean it's true. Just because it feels real doesn't mean it deserves space in your spirit. Toxic thoughts may knock at the door, but you don't have to invite them in. In fact, you need to evict them immediately. The longer a toxic thought stays in your mind, the deeper it digs its roots. At first it whispers, small doubts, subtle insecurities, quiet fears, but if you don't shut it down, that whisper becomes a voice, that voice becomes a belief, and that belief becomes a barrier. And suddenly, you're no longer living freely, you're living under mental oppression that you never intended to welcome. That's why casting down toxic thoughts is not optional. It's urgent. You can't negotiate with them. You can't entertain them. You can't think them through. You have to attack them, tear them down, remove them at the root, because these thoughts are not passive. They are corrosive. They eat away at your confidence. They drain your energy. They distort your identity. And if you don't cast them down, they will cast you down into cycles of overthinking, discouragement, and self-sabotage. Think about this. You would never allow someone to walk into your home, insult you, rob you, and rearrange your furniture. So why do you let thoughts do that in your mind? A toxic thought is an intruder. It is not your friend. It is not your advisor. It is not your truth. It is a lie wearing a disguise. And the faster you identify it, the faster you can reclaim your peace and power. But here's what makes toxic thoughts so dangerous. They sound like your voice. They use your past, your wounds, use your memories and your fears as evidence to build a false narrative. They say things like, I'm not enough, I always mess things up, no one cares, I'll never get through this. And you begin to accept them because they sound familiar. But familiarity is not the same as truth. You must get in the habit of interrupting the inner narrative. Interrupt it immediately. As soon as that thought shows up that says you're unworthy, cast it down, replace it, speak truth to it, tell it, I am chosen, I am redeemed, I am qualified, I am still growing. When that thought shows up saying it's too late, you've missed your chance, it's never going to happen for you, cast it down. Declare, I am on time, my season is still unfolding, what's for me is still coming. This is not just motivation, this is warfare. Your mind is a battlefield, and toxic thoughts are enemies of your destiny. They don't show up to keep you company, they show up to keep you captive. But here's what you must remember, you have authority over your thoughts. You are not helpless. You are not out of control. You have the power to choose what stays and what goes. You don't have to believe everything you think. You don't have to tolerate every negative emotion. You don't have to sit quietly and let mental chaos rule your day. You can rise up in your spirit and say, that thought doesn't belong here. You can identify the lie and replace it with truth. You can take back control of your internal environment, but you must act quickly. The moment a toxic thought shows up is the moment you confront it. Not later, not tomorrow, not when you feel stronger, right now. If you don't deal with it instantly, it multiplies, it gains momentum, it shapes your mood, it colors your attitude, and suddenly you're not even sure why you feel heavy. But the root was a single unchallenged thought. Your mind is sacred space. Not every thought deserves to live there. The longer you allow toxic thinking to linger, the more it steals your focus, your peace, your vision, your joy. But the moment you rise up and cast it down, you interrupt the enemy's plan. You break the cycle. You pull down the stronghold. You take back your identity. What you allow your mind to dwell on will eventually shape the way you see your life, your future, your worth, and your world. Your thoughts are not just private. They are productive. They are seeds. And over time, they become stories, attitudes, perspectives, and decisions. And if you're not intentional about what you choose to focus on, you'll find yourself pulled into mental patterns that have nothing to do with your purpose and everything to do with your pain. The truth is, your life will follow the direction of your dominant thoughts, not your wishes, not your prayers, not even your goals. If your thoughts are constantly rooted in fear, negativity, or shame, it doesn't matter how much you desire change. Your life will keep repeating the same cycle. That's why you've got to take control of where your mind lives. You've got to build a home in what is true, pure, and powerful, and tear down every thought that tries to live in darkness, distortion, or defeat. It starts with asking yourself a bold question. What am I constantly thinking about? Because whatever occupies your mind eventually occupies your emotions. If you're always thinking about who hurt you, you'll keep feeling bitter. If you're always rehearsing what went wrong, you'll keep feeling like a failure. But if you start training your mind to focus on what is true, who you really are, what you've come through, what you still have, what's still possible, your entire emotional state begins to shift. Thinking on what is true means cutting through the lies. It means refusing to let your emotions lead the narrative. Just because you feel broken doesn't mean you are broken. Just because you made a mistake doesn't mean you are a mistake. Just because life got dark doesn't mean the light isn't still available. Truth doesn't always scream. It whispers, and you've got to get quiet enough in your soul to hear it again. Thinking on what is pure means choosing thoughts that cleanse, not contaminate. It's easy to let your mind wander into impure places, envy, resentment, self-pity, regret. But those thoughts leave residue. They clog your peace. They darken your clarity. You can't think like that and expect to live free. You've got to detox your mind daily. Choose to fill it with words, images, music, and messages that remind you of your identity, your purpose, your strength, and your worth. It's not about pretending everything is perfect. It's about protecting your mental atmosphere so you don't drown in emotional pollution. Thinking on what is powerful means refusing to dwell on weakness, fear, or helplessness. It means choosing to magnify what gives you strength, not what steals it. If you focus on your limitations, they will grow. If you focus on your excuses, they will multiply. But if you focus on your gifts, your progress, your resilience, your vision, those things will expand. You've got to become the curator of your mind. Filter what stays. Redirect what tries to take you backward. Refuse to entertain powerlessness when you were born with divine potential. Here's the truth. You can't stop every negative thought from arriving, but you can stop it from building a home. You can redirect, you can replace, you can renew, and the more often you do that, the stronger your mental habits become. Just like muscles in the gym, your thoughts respond to training. And when you discipline your mind to think on what is true, pure, and powerful, you're not just being positive, you're being prepared, because life will test you. Pain will try to break you. People will disappoint you. But a trained mind can stand in the storm and still see hope. When your thoughts are rooted in truth, you're not easily swayed. When your thoughts are pure, you're not easily polluted. When your thoughts are powerful, you're not easily defeated. This isn't just mindset, it's mental warfare. And the battlefield belongs to those who know how to think with intention, not emotion. With faith, not fear. With vision, not victimhood. And you get to decide what gets the final say in your mind. One of the most dangerous things you can do in life is to carry a great destiny, but keep a mind filled with doubt. That inner conflict will paralyze you. It will cause you to shrink back when you're supposed to rise up. It will make you second-guess open doors, sabotage divine opportunities, and talk yourself out of the very blessings you've been praying for. Not because you're not capable, but because your mind and your destiny are walking in opposite directions. You were created with purpose. You were designed for more than just survival. But destiny is not just about what's ahead of you, it's about what's inside of you. And unless your mind comes into agreement with that destiny, you will keep living under your potential, never quite stepping into the fullness of who you are. Destiny and doubt cannot share the same space. One will always silence the other. You have to decide which one gets your agreement. Your destiny says you are called. Your doubt says you're not qualified. Your destiny says there's more for you. Your doubt says you've missed your chance. Your destiny says keep going. Your doubt says it's safer to stay where you are. But here's the truth. What you agree with will eventually lead your life. Agreement is powerful. When you agree with truth, it empowers you. When you agree with lies, it limits you. And many people are not stuck because of external resistance. They are stuck because they have mentally agreed with limitation. They have allowed their thoughts to be shaped more by their failures than by their future. Their mindset has been trained by pain, not purpose. And so every time life gives them a glimpse of more, doubt rises up and reminds them of everything they're not. But doubt doesn't need to be accurate, it just needs to be repeated. The more you allow those thoughts to cycle through your mind unchecked, the more they begin to feel like facts. And before long, you start organizing your life around your insecurities instead of your intentions. You stop reaching. You stop risking. You stop believing that something greater is even possible. That's why your agreement matters. You have to intentionally bring your mind into harmony with your calling. That means catching the lies before they take root. That means replacing self-sabotage with self-belief. That means waking up each day and choosing to think, speak, and act like someone who is going somewhere on purpose. Because doubt will always try to negotiate with your mind. It will offer you comfort in exchange for your calling. It will give you excuses wrapped in logic. But your destiny was never meant to make sense to your fear. You've got to make a decision. I will no longer agree with smallness. I will no longer agree with shame. I will no longer agree with the voice that tells me I'm not enough. My mind will align with the greatness inside of me. My thoughts will reflect where I'm headed, not where I've been. I will think like someone who is growing, rising, becoming. And here's the shift. When your mind starts agreeing with your destiny, you begin to move differently. You stop apologizing for your ambition. You stop shrinking around small thinkers. You stop waiting for perfect conditions and start acting in faith. You don't need everyone to believe in you. You just need to stop doubting yourself. The most powerful version of you already exists inside of you. It's been buried under fear, buried under judgment, buried under delay, but your agreement can resurrect it. Your thoughts can awaken it. When you start aligning your thinking with where you're going instead of where you've been, the entire trajectory of your life changes. Your destiny is not a distant fantasy. It's a current reality that your mind must begin to support. And the moment you stop rehearsing your doubt and start reinforcing your vision, you shift from surviving to building, from wandering to walking in purpose, from insecurity to identity. And that shift doesn't start in your environment, it starts in your agreement. Your mind is the gateway to everything. Your peace, your power, your purpose, the quality of your life will never exceed the quality of your thoughts. And now you know this isn't a passive process, it's a daily decision. You don't control everything that happens to you, but you do control what happens within you. You've learned that your mind is a battlefield, and battles aren't won by chance. They're won by strategy, by discipline, by inner fire. You win when you start guarding what enters your mind. You win when you choose daily to renew your thoughts and take charge of your inner atmosphere. You win when your words speak truth into the dark. You win when you confront and cast down every toxic lie that dares to challenge your worth. You win when your mind stops feeding fear and starts meditating on what is pure, what is strong, what is true. And most of all, you win when your thoughts stop bowing to your doubt and start agreeing with your destiny. You are not a victim of your thoughts. You are the architect of your mindset. You are the gatekeeper. You have authority, and the life you want, the breakthrough you need, the peace you crave, it all begins in your mind. So choose to rise. Choose to take back your thoughts. Choose to speak what you want to see, not what you fear might happen. Cast down what doesn't serve you. Plant new seeds of greatness, of gratitude, of God-given strength. Build your mind to support your calling, not sabotage it. It won't happen overnight, but it will happen with intention, with consistency, and with truth. Because when your mind changes, your life will follow.